Over the years, we've covered almost every possible topic related to the DKC series. Music, animal buddies, speedrunning, the future, heck, we've even ranked the Kremlings. But if there's one area that we haven't touched yet, it's Donkey Kong ports and spin-off games. And if this is gonna be the last DK month, it just wouldn't feel complete unless we talked about all of them. Yep, every last one. Now, what's interesting about the titles we're gonna cover today is that before I made this video, I hadn't played any of them. How can I be the Donkey Kong guy if I haven't experienced everything in DK Barrel Blast? Oh god, what have I gotten myself into? I think we're gonna go more or less in chronological order here, so let's start with the Donkey Kong Land series on the Game Boy. Similar to Super Mario Land, these definitely feel like downgraded versions of the originals. Like, yeah, you can still jump, roll, swing on vines, and pounce enemies, but the physics just feel slightly off, and that changes the game feel a surprising amount. Donkey Kong Land 1 is the least like the game it's trying to emulate. Instead of having any sense of flow in the level progression, it's totally random. Okay, we're going from the jungle to a snowy mountain, to a pirate ship, sure, why not? And they added this bizarre flying pig enemy, like, where did that come from? I will say though, graphically speaking, it's pretty darn amazing that they got the character models to look so similar to the SNES counterparts. Considering the year and hardware this was released in, that alone is really cool, even if it doesn't feel near as polished from a gameplay perspective. DK Land 2 and 3, however, are much more comparable to their home console inspirations. You got the same bosses, similar level concepts, they even have bonus rooms and tokens complete with the Lost World levels and everything. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's basically an inferior way to play the games in every way, but they even got this boss in there somehow. I am legit impressed. Before we move on to the GBA, I thought it was worth mentioning Donkey Kong 94, because while I didn't include the other Mario vs. DK games on this list, this one might possibly be the best title on the entire Game Boy? It starts out as a traditional remake of the Donkey Kong arcade game from 1981, but then quickly turns into so much more. DK keeps running away with Pauline, so you need to find keys and open doors to keep up your hot pursuit. Things end up resembling a puzzle game more than a platformer, as it adds in more mechanics and ways to traverse levels. But what I found the absolute coolest was Mario's movement tech. He can do handstands, triple jumps, and even what appears to be the first incarnation of the side flip. The first time I did this, it was on accident, and I felt like a gaming god. This title feels way ahead of its time, and is still addictingly fun to pop in today. Highly recommend. Okay, so on the Game Boy Advance, they decided to remake much more faithful adaptations of the Super Nintendo trilogy. And yet again, I'm impressed at how good they made this look on such limited hardware. The physics still aren't perfect, and the frame rate feels a bit jarring at first, but I think what makes them stand on their own is the new additions and little changes they made. For example, the Kongs on the map screen now have minigames to play as well as their respective tasks. So due to what I assume is endless requests from fans, you can now dance with Candy and go fishing with Funky, so there you go. They also threw in a time attack mode where you try and finish stages as fast as you can, while collecting additional time tokens along the way. This is fantastic. I wish this was in the original games too. They even changed the bonus rooms to resemble the sequels, which is a nice touch to make the whole trilogy feel more consistent. But perhaps neatest of all, they switched up the bosses and even added a few new ones in the later games. I know I just gave DKC1 a ton of crap for having horrible bosses, but to my surprise, the GBA version actually turns them half decent. You have to throw TNT barrels at Dum Drum now. The second Neki fight is against both of them at once, and King Zing Sting is much harder. You have to kill his ever-changing B shield before you can damage him now. You remember in DKC2 how once you reach the top of K. Rool's castle, it just does a fake out and you don't fight a boss at all? Well, not anymore. Say hello to Kerosene, a nice challenge and change of pace before facing off against the final boss. In DKC3, they added this guy, which is not great to be honest. But I also found it interesting that they changed up the soundtrack for this one. I really liked the new version of Lakeside Limbo. It's more mysterious and vibing. But then they also changed Treetop Tumble, and it is just so jarring in comparison. That is a choice, alright. We're now entering the spin-off zone, where Nintendo decided to test out vastly different genres with our favorite gorilla. Let's talk about DK King of Swing. Instead of swinging on vines, ropes, and massive cattails, now you grab onto pegs, I guess, and use the momentum of your rotation to jump around and collect bananas and stuff. Definitely different. I can't really say it's bad, but not really my cup of tea. At least they still use enemies and assets from the mainline series to make it feel familiar, but I think this could have been completely stripped of everything DK and still be the same game more or less. I do like that you can grab on with both hands and charge up a special jump attack, and the boss fights especially felt like a good use of these new mechanics. But overall, it feels pretty slow and unintuitive, putting the gimmick above satisfying gameplay. If there's one thing King of Swing got right though, it's that gorgeous pixel art. Sure, it's a little more cartoony, but I've never seen DK and K. Rool so expressive. I love this redesign. They made another one on the DS called Jungle Climber, and while I'm sad about the change of art direction, they added some neat new mechanics in this one. By adding an actual jump button and using Diddy for satisfying combo throws, this one feels a lot more fluid and speedier. Plus, they seemed more interested in switching up the gameplay, which kept things engaging for much longer. They're so different it's hard to even compare them to the regular games, but I have a hard time writing the Climber series off as crappy shovelware. Donkey Konga, on the other hand, oh boy. I really want to meet the person responsible for coming up with the DK bongos because, seriously, just how? Why? I assume this was a weird attempt at cashing in on the Guitar Hero craze of the early 2000s, but this came out a year earlier, so I have so many questions. And this game is just equally as perplexing as it is garbage. There is something especially cursed about watching Donkey Kong clap his hands to Blink-182. Somehow they made a sequel and even a third entry that only released in Japan. So I mean, hey, they must have at least piqued the interest of someone out there. But this is just the start of the Bongo peripheral craze. Apparently, they were working on turning it into a racing game, but it eventually got moved to the Wii, so they just used motion controls instead for Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. It's basically the same premise as the bongos. You shake the Wiimote to go left, the nunchuck to go right, and both to speed up and jump. But other than this nightmare character model, I don't have much to say here. It feels like a Mario Kart knockoff with less enjoyable controls and bland set pieces. I know they're supposed to be flying because of the rocket barrels, but it feels weird that there isn't really a road or track. They're basically just floating through the air. If you want to scratch a racing itch with the DK franchise, stick to Diddy Kong Racing. Yeah, the bongos are super weird, but I can't help feeling like there's some missed potential here. Like, what if there's a game that still tries to emulate the original gameplay that's so beloved while utilizing its unique control scheme? Whoa, what's going on? Holy banana fairy! Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Like I said, I had never played any of these games before making this video, and Jungle Beat left the biggest impression on me by far. This is how you use a wacky musical controller in creative ways. The juxtaposition of just a few inputs doing such complex movement and flashy maneuvers on screen feels so oddly satisfying that there isn't really anything else out there like it. Trying to remember whether I should clap or hit both bongos or move left or right is gleefully chaotic, and truly makes the use of the bongos integral to the experience. If you just play with a regular controller, it appears like a relatively basic platformer. And maybe that's why so many people have slept on this game. You really need to play it firsthand for things to click. But even on top of its uniqueness, it's also a really hype Donkey Kong game. You ride a giant wildebeest, float up in bubbles, and smack birds to fly around. Dude, the bosses! I know I just did a video talking about DK bosses, but somehow Jungle Beat has better fights than almost anything else in the series. How is this possible? You gotta throw pineapples into an elephant tank's trunk to blow it up, jump and claw your way through a giant bird egg. Heck, you even duke it out mano-a-mano with other Kong bad guys. The charm is through the roof with this game. After playing, I found out this was developed by the same team that made Super Mario Galaxy. And that makes so much more sense. This game has way more polish than I would have ever expected from a silly spin-off title. If you're craving something new while we're in a bit of a DK dry spell right now, I can't recommend Jungle Beat enough. I am kicking myself for never giving it a go until now. Whew, so I've just played a lot of Donkey Kong. And look, are any of them as good as the base series? If I'm being honest, No. In fact, a lot of them have aged like a black banana. Just throw them out already. You're never gonna make banana bread, Angie! But there are a few diamonds in the rough. Donkey Kong 94 and Jungle Beat in particular pleasantly surprised me, and I'm so glad I decided to give these offshoots a try because those alone were worth the trouble. What are your favorite DK ports or spin-off games and why? Is there anything else that I somehow missed? Let me know in the comments below and let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. We still have plenty of content to come, including a speedrun race for charity on Twitch at the end of the month. More details to come. I'll see you next time. Stay frosty, my friends.